Today we are going to look at something new, though related to what we've been discussing. We look at the fundamentals of knowledge management. You know, when we talk about fundamentals, some of you think of the fundamentals of these artists. These are my fundamentals. We are not talking about those fundamentals. We are talking about knowledge management. In this case, we are looking at the guiding principles of knowledge management. I want to say this because knowledge management has attracted many scholars and researchers. Many have come up with varying issues or principles that guide knowledge management. However, there is a convergence because they are not different from each other. The only difference is terminology, but the concepts are the same. So when you get one researcher or one scholar talking or baptizing an issue with a different name, it doesn't mean that they are different from each other. So let us get that understanding as we look at this subject of this concept of fundamentals of knowledge management. What are the lesson objectives? At the end of this lesson, it is expected that the learner will be in a position to understand the guiding, or to know the guiding principles of knowledge management. Number two, should be able to apply those principles in management of knowledge. What are these fundamentals of knowledge management? There are several fundamentals of knowledge management. In this case, we will use the fundamentals or the principles as advanced by Dell in 2015. They have given the URL where those principles have been elucidated. So once you read, you'll get to know about them. He gives the following principles: that knowledge is self-organizing, meaning knowledge is not haphazard. It's organized around individuals, around groups, around organizations, around nations, around the world community. It depends on how you are looking at it. So it is self-organizing. Number two, knowledge travels via language, meaning without a language, knowledge cannot be expressed. That is why we say that language, people's culture, for example, is transmitted by a language. And because people's culture is the culture of that particular people or community, the language used is the one that is used to explain the knowledge of that community. So without languages to describe the experience, what is known cannot be communicated. Organizational knowledge is also expanded if organizations develop languages that can be used to describe those experiences. Knowledge seeks community. Knowledge happens just as life happens, and both happens in community. For example, the internet community of practices. In other words, knowledge belongs and explains Knowledge belongs and explains community life and explains community life. Knowledge belongs and explains community life. It may be a community of an organization, it can be a family, it can be a village, it can be a clan, it can even be a race. It can be a nation. In the contemporary world, the global community is underpinned by the knowledge economy. So when you talk about the knowledge economy, you are focusing on the global community. Number 4, knowledge is messy. It means knowledge is connected to everything else and therefore can't be considered in isolation. In the knowledge universe, attention could just be paid to one factor. Attention would just be paid to one factor. But then, what is important is that knowledge is connected to everything we do, and without it, without understanding, we might not go anywhere. Number 5, knowledge can't be restricted. It means the more one tries to pin down knowledge, the more it slips away. Modification of knowledge results and documents, databases, patterns, reports, etc., etc., is a form of non-destructive nature of knowledge. This, however, has a multiplier effect, since utilization of this knowledge resources leads to creation of new knowledge or expansion of the knowledge horizons. That is why we say that knowledge is never restricted. Knowledge is dynamic. There is no solution to an issue. Knowledge is always changing. Therefore, the best option of managing it is to keep moving along while keeping options open. Knowledge doesn't grow forever. Like natural phenomena, knowledge doesn't grow forever. At one point, some knowledge dies out. It becomes obsolete. This is akin to unlearning and letting go of old ways of thinking. Because things keep changing. What was used to address a problem yesterday might not be useful in the contemporary world. So people must change their ways of thinking. Reviving old blocks of knowledge contribute to the validity, the vitality and evolution of knowledge. There is no one in charge of knowledge. That is our principle. It is because knowledge is a social process. No one individual can take responsibility for collective knowledge. For example, in this university, you can come up with a discovery, an innovation. But remember, you are assisted by that messenger, you are assisted by that librarian, you are given assistance by that assistant. And therefore, no one is in charge of that knowledge. The other principle is how you define knowledge determines how you manage it. Because definition is pegged on understanding of knowledge. The knowledge question can present itself in many ways. For example, the concern about knowledge ownership leads to acquiring modified knowledge that is protected by copyright laws and patents. So you have to be careful on how you perception and understanding of knowledge is. There are copyright laws, there are patents within which to operate. There is no silver bullet. That is, there is no single leverage point as a best practice to advance knowledge. It must be supported at multiple levels and in a variety of ways. In knowledge management, you can't embrace rules and systems. You can't impose rules and systems. This is because knowledge is self-organizing. In a supportive environment, knowledge takes care of itself. Therefore, barriers should be removed to enable self-organization. Finally, knowledge can be captured, transferred, stored, and distributed. Actually, this is the essence of knowledge management. Because when you look at the definition of the concept of knowledge management, it entails capture, acquisition, organizing, processing, distribution, sharing, or transfer, diffusion and application of knowledge to problem solving. So this principle of knowledge being captured, transferred, stored, and distributed is very important. It means knowledge is developed through learning process and depends on the moment, past experience, expertise, knowledge transfer mechanism, and opportunities for knowledge use. I also want to add the following, that knowledge enables higher learning and further acquisition of knowledge. That knowledge creation and utilization is enhanced with technology. The use of technology in knowledge management cannot be overemphasized. You know that. Knowledge creation and utilization is enhanced with technology. Finally, knowledge is transferable. Knowledge can easily be distributed via networks to many people or via people to people for purposes of sharing, application, and application to problem solving. That brings us to the end of this particular lesson. If there is a question, we can meet in class, then you ask, or you can post it to the forum, then we'll respond to it.